wall. Oh, that's my pussy.
Well, dude, just take it. Why am I holding it?
I don't know, because I'm lazy. Well, now I'm just going to stare at myself for the rest of this episode. What a pretty girl. He's a pretty girl. He's a pretty girl. He's a pretty girl. He's a pretty girl. Do whatever you want.
Hey dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 6, Episode 5. And of course, I am here with my illegitimate drag daughter, Ms. Wilhelmina Box Farts. How are you, Wilhelmina?
I'm super Wilma. How are you?
I'm much better now that you have your wig on, because otherwise it's quite frightening. And I...
Jealous?
I am. There's a lot of hair under there.
Thick, luscious locks.
Well...
Jealousy. Must be so easy, putting your wig on.
It is.
Just deciding where you want your forehead
Slap the glue on and away I go.
Blessed.
Speaking of, I need to thank this week's Tipperdoo, Harmon Van de Beek. Thank you, Harmon, for being so generous. And if you would like to leave a Tipperdoo, well, there's the YouTube thanks button just below the screen, or there's the OG Tipperdoo link in my description box. It's connected to PayPal. Some people have issues with PayPal.
Yeah, I know.
I love PayPal.
I understand.
PayPal's fine. You don't care one way or the other?
No. I mean, when Peter Thiel was involved, it was terrifying. But he's
not now.
He's not. No, he made his money. He sold it, and it's done. And he's gone on to do other things to destroy the world.
Well, good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you. Speaking of destroying the world.
Speaking of destroying the world.
We kicked this episode off by saying goodbye to Zahira. Well, she wasn't winning, but it's sorry to see her go. She was a sweetie.
Yeah, she was fun. Yeah. She wasn't in anyone's way, but she wasn't going to win. So, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Lil felt a little bad about kicking her out. But
of course she did, because she's Lil. She's a sweetie.
Yeah. And then everyone else commented on how come Lil can do choreo in the lip syncs, but not when someone actually teaches her choreo.
Well, that wasn't the only thing taking up their time in the workroom. They also had to congratulate Relisa on her first win. Well deserved. Cha-cha-cha.
Well done.
Wee. What are we going to do?
Wee. Are we still just that a thing? I don't want that to be a thing.
Okay, well then ignore me.
Wee. I ignore you so much that...
Relisa wasn't the only person thrilled that she won. Octavia was thrilled too, because it meant that Kyron didn't get a third badge already. I think a lot of the queens are getting sick and tired of Kyron just being wowing the judges. But hey, why else are you here?
Yeah, you gotta have a front runner so that you all know who to chase.
Yeah, or how badly you're doing.
Yeah.
Bless.
Chanel.
Speaking of Chanel,
Chanel asked Chara how she felt about being safe for the 4th week in the row, and then Chara asked Chanel how she felt about being safe for the 4th week in a row. And then Chanel proceeded to answer that question for... She might still be doing it.
She's still doing it. She's still talking.
As far as I know.
Yeah. The next day in the workroom, the queens entered singing about their sexy sheets, and Relisa showed off her fresh Ru Peter badge. Good for her.
Good for her.
Yeah. Even though Chara T was singing about her sexy sheet along with the rest, she was actually more focused on this being the week that she wouldn't be safe again.
She wanted some critique. She wanted some words from the judges, whether they be good, whether they be bad.
Well, she
just wanted some acknowledgement.
I say you have to be clear with what you want, because sometimes you ask for something you're not prepared for.
No.
Those judges...
Not prepared.
Thank God Ru showed up with this week's mini challenge, and she didn't arrive alone.
No.
Liam of the Brit Crew and Raven showed up along with her. And why do you suppose that was? Well, because the mini challenge was quite involved.
It was very involved. They had to sit in a big pink chair and make Raven laugh, and if they didn't, she would pull a lever and they would tip over. It was very Graham Norton Show-esque.
Yeah.
Basically, just some terrible dad jokes.
It was terrible.
It was My dad has way better jokes than that, though. Lavoie went first with a setup about 2 nuns, and that's pretty much all she got out. They'd had enough.
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah, Raven was very heavy-handed on that level.
No, this isn't going to go anywhere.
I just want to also mention, I don't know what was wrong with Raven, but she was staring off into space the whole time, like her medication had just kicked in or something.
I think there was just a mirror over there, and she was just enjoying
looking
how
at herself, as opposed to those ugly queens out of drag.
I mean, even Ru wasn't in drag, so that's why Raven had time to get into drag.
Yeah.
Perfect. La. Yeah, Kyron made Ru laugh. Did Kyron make her laugh about something? I don't know.
Octavia went next, and she had some joke that involved math, and right away another lever pull, because
Yeah.
Who cares what 38? I'm just saying.
It was a joke for a 4-year-old, and I'm pretty
It
sure
wasn't even a joke. It was more a riddle.
I think she got the punchline wrong.
Marms had a very clever wordplay joke about crustaceans and bus stations. And, I mean, I think it was clever for Marms, but, again, she got pulled. Her lever got pulled as well.
Well, I think if you start laughing before you've delivered the punchline, you deserve to be tipped.
Yeah.
How dare you? Don't
and not
laugh
with
at your own
money.
jokes.
And not with money. Tipped over, yeah.
So rude.
Yeah.
So vulgar. Yeah, I would have tipped her for that.
As long as she enjoyed it, someone did.
She had a great time.
Yeah.
I think she knew that she was going to get tips, so she's like, well, I might as well enjoy myself.
Yeah, she's been sitting on that joke for a long time. Yeah.
Chera had a very cute joke
It was
about
cute.
cheese, little camembert.
Luring bears with cheese. What kind do you use?
Camembert. That made me giggle.
It was cute.
I'm very
I liked in the
stupid.
confessional that she's like, it's funny because it's cheese. It's like, we get it.
Yeah, cheese. Yeah.
Relisa told a joke about singles that was so bad that Raven didn't even get to pull her lever. Rue just slapped her.
It made me laugh, though.
Well, it was a good slap.
It wasn't, I'm not the slap the joke. It wasn't so much the punchline as the in it.
In it, at the end. They'd be called bagels. In it. My favorite joke was Kiki's.
Kiki's made me laugh.
So funny. And she sold it. Her personality on that joke was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a joke I'd heard before, but again, we're not
Rue
reinventing
laughed,
the wheel.
and even as Raven pulled the lever, Raven was laughing. So, couldn't have been that bad.
Couldn't have been that bad.
No.
Couldn't have been. Lil continued the cheese double entendres.
Yeah, the theme of dairy.
Thing of dairy, which was very cute.
But hers was very, like, she had multiple...
Oh, yeah, she came with some cheese.
And Rue was over the dairy, so...
Over the cheese.
Yeah, she got flipped. Chanel told an inappropriate joke about cucumbers, and it was bad enough to get flipped twice.
Yeah, so she should.
I don't imagine she gets flipped often.
No.
And then once all the flipping was done, Rue announced that this week's mini challenge winner was Kiki. I'm not surprised. It was the funnest joke.
It was the funniest joke. Yeah,
well done, Keeks.
I was like,
At least she won
wonderful.
something.
Yes, I was like, wonderful. She's turning things around.
And then it was time for the Maxi challenge. It was the improv challenge where instead of having to actually improvise and act with each other, they were going to be put to the ultimate test, being interviewed by Graham Norton, who is the best interviewer ever. He's very quick. He's very funny. He's very referenced.
He's very charming. He's very delightful.
One of my favorite things about the Graham Norton Show is that Graham brings out all the guests at once. They're all sitting. It's like a dinner party where you have a variety of interesting people that all have something unique to offer the conversation. And these queens were excited, but at least a couple of them had the wherewithal to be a little nervous. And because Kiki won the mini challenge, she got to divide the queens into two groups and pick which group she wanted to be on, which I thought she was going to make better choice, but
she seemed to have no plan. She seemed to just go into it with the, okay, but you and you.
Yeah, not only did she put herself in the larger group with 5 queens, but she also, 4 of those queens were incredible conversationalists.
Lavoie, Kyron, Marmalade, and Lil.
Even Chanel made a comment. Do you realize that being the 5th in that group, you'll only get 20% of the time?
Math, okay, good.
Well, I mean, I like that Chanel thinks that that's the law.
They're going to talk to everyone, but they're not going to... You can have more than your...
Yeah. I mean, Chanel looked at it,
Chanel.
you're going to get less camera time, and I thought, well, at least if Kiki sucks, it's only going to be this much time. I think something that helped with the Maxi Challenge was Rue talking to the queens about what it's like to be interviewed and to maybe even do an interview. She's certainly done both, and she had some great insights, I thought.
Yeah, I think the Queens has some good questions. The thing that a lot of them seem to be worried about is how do you know when to talk? How do you know when to take focus? And Rue said listen, which is...
She couldn't say that
great
enough.
advice.
I like how with group 1, she said, have any of you ever been accused of manipulating the conversation? And Lavoie's hand shot right up and probably was told that morning.
Yeah. You talk a lot.
At least she knows.
I know, and for someone who supposedly talks a lot, everyone was just focusing on how much Chanel talks. So maybe they complain about Chanel talking because she doesn't have anything fun to...
Well, that's the thing. That's the difference between her and Lavoie. Lavoie, at least, you can come in or go with her conversation, whatever you want, but it's entertaining.
Lavoie's lived a life.
She's got stories to tell.
Yeah.
She's seen things.
Chanel just likes to fill the room with white noise.
Sounds racist.
I know, I was about to...
I think the best part of this episode had to be while the queens were getting ready, Kyron and Lavoie had a conversation about confidence. Lavoie was very interested in where Kyron gets her confidence at such a young age.
Yeah.
A felt so sorry for Kyron, and there were tears, and she talked about being trolled by an older person who lied about a lot of things. Long story short, they're in jail now, whoever that was. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyron came out very young, and with the internet, something we didn't have to deal with.
No, thank God.
If we had to, there weren't that many creeps we had to avoid. It was much easier to avoid the grooming. You just didn't go to church. I don't think that Kyron has a delusional level of confidence, as she loves to say, but I think she's confident and she delivers. So, well done, Kyron. And well done, Lavoie. Lavoie seems to be really good at having these conversations with these queens.
Yeah, well, she's genuinely interested because it seems to me like Lavoie has been kind of doing her own thing successfully for a long time. And now, not only is she with a bunch of other queens, they're younger.
Yeah.
They've experienced a different type of drag community, and why wouldn't you want to know about it?
They got some stories to tell.
But not all of them on Graham Norton.
No, sadly no.
On the runway, I have to say, I was very impressed with Rue's outfit. Not only the shimmery, silvery blue dress, but the wig, the makeup, all of it. It was a great look. Gorgeous, gorgeous look. And joining the judges at the judging table was Claire Richards from
Steps.
She's the only one from that group I know and recognize. When they say Claire Richards, she's from Steps. I don't know why I don't remember any of the other three, but... Well, her and Michelle.
I'm impressed that you knew how many people were in Steps.
4.
Steps I missed. It's one of those bands that just didn't seem to make an impact in North America. So I just, I knew they were a thing. Couldn't tell you a single song.
I really only know of them because Michelle did that single with them.
Yeah, not everything
it's a good song.
Makes it across the pond.
Yeah.
It's a long flight.
Yeah. And then it was time for the Graham Norton Roadshow, I think is how we sold it. And Group 1 went first. And I don't know, Lavoie sat in the middle, but...
Which was good.
Not only was she a little more relaxed than the other queens, so she was a little more chatty with Graham out of the gate, but she also started the first story, which I would have thought would have relaxed everyone else.
I thought Lavoie did a great job.
Excellent.
Right off the bat.
She really kicked that whole group off well. And then, Kiki. It felt to me like she was a character, like this was a sketch.
It was very strange.
As opposed to being interviewed.
I mean, jumping out of a plane in drag, that's an interesting story.
That should be enough.
Graham was throwing her bones and like how embarrassing if you died in flats. Yeah. Like just throwing her bone after bone, and Kiki was just weird. It was just weird.
Yeah.
It was like, who is this person? It was very strange.
Yeah. Someone who did not do a bad job, Lil
was delightful. Lil was charming. Lil was not thrown off by the other queens interjecting.
No, she and Lavoie almost had their own conversation there halfway through her story about being bit by a pig and how that was the beginning of all of her woes.
Yeah, her story was
the stigmata act out was funny.
Just a good time.
Yeah.
I would have Lavoie on my talk show again. I would have Lil on my talk show again. Absolutely, with no qualms.
I enjoyed Marms, but I think Marmalade is a very dry personality, and those people either work or don't. Do you know what I mean? You either get them or you don't. And I think with Marmalade, she I think she has to be not rehearsed, but know what she says. So she had points in her story that she had to hit, and I thought she was very conversational, but it was less
off the cuff. It didn't feel as natural to me. It did feel like she's like, okay, I'm going to say this funny thing, this funny thing, this funny thing. And she was very quiet.
Yeah.
Up until...
Like, she let everyone have their moment until it was her turn. Yeah. And then she... And I have to say, I do love the sound of her voice. She has a beautiful voice. And she had some great... Like, she takes that dramatic pause, like, Lorraine.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. But it felt very much like a performance, but not as far-fetched as Kiki's.
No, Kiki was just... Oof.
You know who surprised me?
Oh.
Kyron.
Yeah, that potato smiley face story didn't really go anywhere. I mean, thank goodness Kiki was on her team, so there was someone worse than her. But
yes.
I mean,
Kyron looked good. Like, I had no trouble watching her talk. And her story wasn't horrible. It just didn't go anywhere. And potato smiley faces, a jacket potatoes. There was a lot of potato, a lot of starch.
A lot of starch. Just very starchy. Yeah. Felt like an Irish story. Yeah. I mean, maybe she was just pandering to Graham.
Another story that really didn't go anywhere, and yet I think it could have been really interesting, was Chanel's story about hooking up with the alien aficionado who had the life-size model of one in their home.
I mean, her story was fine.
Yeah.
I would say it was succinct. It had a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that...
She could have just lied on that story. At the end of that, she could have just lied and said, so we had a three-way. And then it would have been fine. It would have been
so funny.
Yeah.
It's like, talk about a chest burster. Talk about a face sucker.
Yeah.
It's so... Shara shared a story about her first drag booking in England.
Which I wish she really had.
It was not a great story.
No. It had potential. She got billed as Ireland's dancing queen, and yet she doesn't dance. No. And then it went nowhere.
It went.
She did 3 rounds of head and shoulders, knees and toes, and there was a reference to the fine print, no refunds. And
was that the button? Like, was that the button on the story? Like, no refunds? Was that supposed to be like the big? No,
her button was, I learned to read the fine print. Oh. And it still wasn't a big enough button for any of that.
No. It was a very, very boring story.
A long walk to a whole lot of nothing. Yeah.
And then Relisa, who looked completely relaxed, completely at home.
She couldn't have looked more at home.
Like, oh, this is my couch. Her story kind of didn't have a point to it.
Well, it was a weird story because basically it was just how she gives straight boys boners. And
who doesn't?
Well, please, why hang out with straight boys otherwise?
Oh, just a stiff breeze gives them at least a chubby, at least a half chub.
Maybe it was because there was one less queen than the other group, but Graham had one last question of the group, like, has anyone met a celebrity or had time with a celebrity? And Chara talked about meeting Cliff Richards in Portugal with her mom, which I thought was nice because it was a much better story. It redeemed her a bit from her dancing queen tale of woe.
I mean, it felt like that felt more conversational. That felt like a talk show. Yeah. That felt like what it was supposed to be. Yeah. And I really think Chara kind of redeemed herself in that moment. I was like, okay.
She certainly was the best of that group at the end. Yeah. Which is better to be the best of the worst group than fair to middling in the fantastic group. Yeah. Fair to middling.
Fair to middling? Fair to middling?
Fair to middling.
Fair to middling?
Feral Midlands?
Feral Midlands?
Did you get bit by a Midland?
I did get bit by a feral. I got a bite in the Feral Midlands, I did. Right in the Feral Midlands.
Whatever, Dick Van Dyke.
Whatever. I'll show you a chitty chitty bang bang.
William.
If I don't flush the toilet, you might see a chitty chitty.
I better not.
If I don't lock the door, you might hear a bang bang.
And then it was time for the runway category is, how's your headpiece? There have been complaints. The first queen down the runway was Marms, and I just have to say...
What do you have to say?
Right out of the gate, I was just gobsmacked. I thought this was stunning, but as she got closer to the camera, it was like, well, there's a lot going on, and it's all in sections, and I don't know if it's all going together once you get a good look at it, but still, I thought she looked spectacular, so I gave her Fingerdoo.
Yeah, I definitely like that outfit from further away. It was giving me a little too much TV antenna.
Yeah.
Your necklace tree.
Graham Norton called it a mug tree. Yeah.
Mug tree. It was just, there was a little too much. And for Marmalade, it didn't seem to have her usual level of polish. Like, is that aluminium foil wrapped around all of that? Like, it was very, it was good, but it just wasn't to my usual taste for Marm.
She overfoiled the mug tree.
The mug tree. Yeah. Still fun, but...
Fun's not winning anyone badges.
No. Speaking of not winning badges, Kiki was next, doing her take on like a biblical angel, which she...
The headpiece was stunning. I don't know where she got that, who made that, except for the Google eyes on it.
Well, that was the biblical angel part, because they're supposed to have these terrifying eyes in them, but...
All over them,
They were too googly.
And that dress, that little ballerina sequin number, was... cute, but it was overshone by the headpiece.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the better looks that she's had on the runway so
and she paints such a beautiful face. It's a shame for her to not wear fantastic outfits, but I still gave her a Fingerdoo because that headpiece was everything. Lil's aubergine Schiaparelli influenced centipede
adorned extravaganza
velvet number was stunning. When she pulled the mask away and you saw that gold heart around her face.
So beautiful.
Wow. And then they cut to Claire Richards and she had on the same exact colored dress. It was very funny.
Yeah. And she had centipedes, but they weren't nearly as nice. They
not
were just
as nice.
bugs.
Not gilded. They were just
bugs.
there. Yeah. Because I love an aubergine velvet gown, I absolutely gave Lil a Fingerdoo.
Then it was time for Lavoie to hit the runway in a neon Carmen Miranda throwback vision. She had a bit of a reveal going on.
It was like Mardi Gras in a Carmen Miranda hat.
She got the headpiece memo. It was enormous. It was ridiculous.
That costume was all headpiece. I have to say, on paper, I would not have thought that dress would have stood up to the rest of them. But wow, was it stunning on her, and especially in comparison to a lot of the other queens. It was the tits.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Fingerdoo for La Voix.
Next down the runway, pink, fleshy, Chiron blob. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I didn't really care.
I think it was her ode to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, no.
It just looked like she was morphing into something else. It was very unique. It bothered me.
Which I like. I like it when
I like that it bothered me because it was. I didn't want to see noses on her nipples.
No. It didn't feel like a headpiece. Like, I didn't feel like it really fit the brief, but I didn't care because it was so weird and just like a bunch of her heads on top of her head. And I like that she said, people have their own ideas of fashion and beauty, and this is mine. I'm like, well done.
To cast her face in rubber and glue it all over an outfit, a cat suit. Fingerdoo, well done. It was very unique.
Not so unique was Chanel. I don't even remember what the dress was because it was a bit underwhelming. But the headpiece was cute. It was a little small. It was all haberdashery kind of themed and lots of buttons and thread and stuff. But it didn't look quite fleshed out.
I'm gonna give Chanel a Fingerdoo because it was a headpiece and she looked good, but that dress was so big. It was a gorgeous dress, but it was just a little too basic. But she made it herself.
Not the headpiece, though.
Oh, she didn't?
No, I don't think she did.
I think she did.
No, I think she mentioned something about not making it.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Well, why are we watching her then?
Why are we watching?
Another beautiful headpiece was Release's Carnival Phoenix ensemble. Because the outfit was very simple. It was just a bathing suit, really. But the feathers and the headpiece, and she looked gorgeous.
She looked beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely Fingerdoo for Release. I have no idea what it was that Octavia was wearing. I mean, it was branded. There was A's all over it. And although her headpiece was more of a hat.
It was a hat. It was not a headpiece. It was very much a hat.
Yeah. It still was one of the nicest things I think she's ever worn down that runway. So I totally gave her a Fingerdoo. I
thought she looked really cute. She just looked like like a puffy clown.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the reference was. I didn't think it was a headpiece. I thought it was a hat, but I still liked it. I thought it was great. Yeah. Cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
I really like Chera's runway. It's not the first time we've seen a bubblegum theme go down the runway because LaShawn Beyond from season 4 of Drag Race.
I didn't remember these things.
Because I remember her going down the runway going, I wish that looked better. And there was Chera's, and it was absolutely exactly what it should have been. I mean, she looked like a gumball machine broken and the gumballs had spilled everywhere. And her face was stunning.
Her face was gorgeous. I didn't think this was a headpiece.
Not a headpiece. Not a headpiece.
It's like, this is not a headpiece. Yeah.
No, it was a helmet. It was a diver's helmet at best. Yeah. But Fingerdoo, because it's Chera, God bless her. She's not winning.
She looked cute.
Yeah. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Kieran, Chanel, and Relisa were all safe, so they frigged right the hell off to the workroom.
So the top queens for the judges were Marmalade, Lil, and Lavoie, which I absolutely agree with. Yeah. Lavoie obviously just smashed the challenge. Lil looked so relaxed and was so charming.
And that was one of the best things she's worn down the runway as well. I was so impressed with that outfit.
And then Marmalade was, they appreciated what she had delivered in Graham Norton. Graham did say that he was a little worried off the top because she didn't seem to be saying anything, but when it came to her turn, she was obviously listening. Yeah. And the fact that she took a bit of a different tack than the rest of the queens definitely made her stand out. Yeah. So, well done, Marmalade.
Yes. Which left Kiki, Octavia, and Chara in the bottom. And I have to say, I think the only reason that Chara was there was because they needed 3.
Yeah.
Because of the queens at the bottom, it was very clear to everyone that both Octavia and Kiki struggled the most.
Yeah, Kiki, they called her out on just not being herself and sort of delivering some weird character that they maybe thought that that's what she thought that they all wanted to see, but it was, she very rightly got called out. Chera, they seemed to enjoy, but Chera also, I don't think, could hear what the judges were saying.
Which is ironic. She was finally getting the critique she'd been begging for. I couldn't hear a word of it.
She couldn't hear a word.
And she subsequently thought she hadn't done as well.
She really, when they were back in the in the workroom for Untucked, she really thought that she was going to be lip syncing. I was like, no, girl, they really liked your outfit. They loved your runway. So she thought that she was gonna be lip syncing. I'm like, no, you're gonna be fine.
Speaking of Chara, there was a moment there in the workroom where Chanel seemed to blame her poor showing on Chara, because before they went to do the Graham Norton show, Chara asked how she was going to let anyone else get a word in edgewise, and Chanel felt that it threw her off her game and made her hyper aware that she talked too much, which still didn't keep her from talking too much.
Well, and also, aren't you aware that you talk too much?
This can't be new.
I thought it was very unfair of her to come for Chara. I mean, if Chanel really was feeling some sort of way about that comment, fair enough. But it did not feel like it came from an authentic place.
I just don't feel that she did feel that Chara threw her off her game. Yeah. I just think she couldn't blame herself for a bad job. It had to be somebody else's fault.
Well, and she couldn't blame Marmalade because she wasn't in the same group as Marmalade, so she had to find a new target.
A new whipping post.
Maybe that's what she does. She's like, oh, I didn't win, so I'm going to blame you.
Yeah.
Kiki definitely had a bit of a moment as well.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for feeling some sort of way, because she's not dumb. She knew she didn't do well.
Yeah.
She knew while she was on the Graham Norton show that she was bombing the Graham Norton show. So no surprise to Kiki. She's not a dumb queen.
And I have to say, I love that Octavia was sure it was her going to be lip syncing against her, but she didn't blame anybody.
Nope.
She understood what went wrong. She was ready to go. Although I'm sure that she wasn't feeling very confident about having to go up against Kiki. I mean, if there's one thing Kiki can do, it is lip sync and perform, which we saw when they returned to the stage. First of all, it was announced that this week's winner, Lavoie, her first badge. Yay! Lavoie, well deserved, well done.
Well done. Yeah, and I think Lavoie was really touched that they had appreciated and embraced her kind of old school drag.
Yeah, I feel like
old school doesn't mean outdated.
No,
it just means old school.
It's just a different style. Yeah. I don't think anyone was surprised that Kiki was in the bottom, and I'm glad that it was Octavia and not Chara, because I think Chara did do a better job, and her runway was better.
And she was in the bottom because they needed a third. I agree, and she did not need to worry.
Yeah.
She did not.
So Octavia and Kiki had to lip sync for their life, and they lip synced to David Bowie's Let's Dance, which is an odd song.
Too many boys. There's too many boy songs for these lip syncs.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, there's too many snakes on that plane.
What?
Yes. But they both did a great job, but I really felt like this was more of Octavia's milieu, because the first thing she did was dump that cute little cloud outfit, and she had on this plaid punk rock dress and a black mullet wig.
It all made perfect sense with the song.
Yeah.
As soon as she did that reveal, and with her, she stomps around, she jumps around. Yeah. It all made perfect sense. She did look like like a backup singer for Kiss. And I'm like, okay, I loved you in Kiss. Yeah. But it made absolute sense. I mean, as soon as Kiki took off her headpiece, and
what were we looking at?
What are we looking at? What are we looking at?
And she did a good job. She tried to put some humor into it. She tried to do some emoting. And she even tried to engage Octavia, but
Octavia's too frantic and manic.
You can't get too close to her. You're going to get a finger in the eye, and not on purpose. I thought they both did well, but it was very obvious that the winner of this lip sync was going to be Octavia, and Ru confirmed it. Yeah. And bless Kiki, I think she did a good job. But as you say, this wasn't her time.
Not ready.
This is a great way for her to figure out what's needed of her, so she's going to be fully ready for All Stars. Yeah. If and when that happens.
Yeah. If she wants to come back.
Oh, she'll come back. There you go. Kiki out, Lavoie's first badge. What do you think? Was this the outcome you thought was going to happen? How about you? Were you happy?
I was thrilled. Yeah. I was thrilled. I didn't know. As soon as Lavoie came out, I'm like, they're either going to love this or hate this. But I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
So I was really happy that they loved it. I'm glad that Lavoie got a badge, because well deserved, because I've really fallen in love with
and what a great challenge for her to win on.
And if Lavoie doesn't win this, I'm going to flip a table.
Not this table.
I'm so upset.
But we're not here to talk about tables. We're here to talk about...
let's only talk about the table. Can we delete everything and let's just talk about what's in this drawer? What's in Wilma's drawers?
Oh, there's a show.
Well, it is a show. You don't know. I sneak in. I'll just go through things.
Well, if you like this episode of the Fingerdoo Review, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And if you'd like to support the channel, make sure you leave a comment down below I love to answer. This one's busy.
I'm
She got
silent,
things to do.
silent.
But I love answering any of your messages. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to leave a tip or do either through the YouTube thanks button or my OG PayPal link in the description box, along with a link to my Redbubble store where you get your Wilma merch and my Patreon link where the Fingerdoo family meet twice a month for live chats. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, miss us! Mwah!
The elephant in the room.
She's called me an elephant.
No, I called that thing that's shaped like an elephant sticking out of your ear. Is it like a
It's an
pollen?
earring. Isn't it an earring?
Oh, that's what it is. I don't have my glasses on. I thought you were just in a gigantic blob of
You're a
earwax.
hateful for a person.
At least I can hear now after I had my earwax debacle. I'm so embarrassed I had to have my ears cleaned out like a dog. Like a dog, I had to have them flushed. And then I insisted they show me what they flushed.
Why would you want to see
curious.
that?
I want to know the things that are coming out of my body.
Did you regret your request, or was it
No,
interesting?
it was spectacular.
What was it?
Just I apparently make a
An obnoxious
prodigious
amount of
earwax.
Prodigious.
And it's extremely dry. And it just built up.
Flaky layers. Could have been your drag queen name in high
Could have
school.
been my drag queen name in high school.
It's not.
Flaky layers.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had like a pastry themed drag.
Like opera cake or a petit four.
You're petty fool.